That's your 30-second warning. All right, it is 7 o'clock. So with that, we will call to order the Seminole Airport Authority. Roll call, please.
Chris Hansen.
Here.
Trace Connor.
Here.
Tim Poplin. Eddie Foreman.
Here.
John Kramer.
Here.
Larry Church.
Here.
Corey Crabtree.
Here.
Dana Miller.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Before I move on to the next one, I'd like to say it's nice to be back home. And we haven't even seen all the things they can do, so it's nice to be back.
Hang wires for the city.
I don't think they wore our chairs out too much when they were here. So Kenny Childers said, I'm gonna wear it out, so I don't think he did. So with that, we'll move on to consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Hansen.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin, sorry.
Yes.
Motion passed.
With no items removed from the consent agenda and with no appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Airport Authority, we'll move on to current business. Item 1, consideration and possible action to approve the independent fee estimate to provide IFT review services for the Taxiway A Relocate Phase 1 project in the amount of $2,980.
Move approval. Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Hansen.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 2, consideration and possible action to approve the professional service agreement for the Delta Airport Consultants to provide construction administration for the Seminole Municipal Airport's Phase 1 Relocate Taxiway A project in the amount of $377,000.
Mayor, I have a question.
Please.
Steve or someone, if you can explain to me, where's 377,000 coming from?
From the grant,
From the grant?
yes.
So this wasn't, because this amount's a big amount, so I'm just making sure it wasn't in the budget work program that we had
Yeah,
already
so,
approved.
right, yep. Between FAA and Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission, I think we're covered.
Okay. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Hansen.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no other items listed, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. With that, we'll call to order the meeting of the Seminole Gas Authority. Roll call, please.
Larry Church.
Here.
Tim Poplin. Corey Crabtree.
Here.
Dana Miller.
Here.
Trace Connor.
Here.
John Kramer.
Here.
Chris Hansen.
Here.
Eddie Foreman.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Chris Hansen.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda and no appearances or petitions from the audience, I would again entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Move on to the meeting of the Seminole Municipal Authority. Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Here.
Eddie Foreman.
Here.
Tim Poplin. Dana Miller.
Here.
Larry Church.
Here.
Chris Hansen.
Here.
John Kramer.
Here.
Trace Connor.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Chris Hansen.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda and no appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Municipal Authority, we'll move on to current business. Item 1, Consideration and possible action to approve extending the promissory note with First United Bank, loan number 403307598, for construction of a wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $1,759,190 to a new due date of 10/2/2023 and a modified current prime interest rate of 8.59 fixed percent.
Is that the same interest rate it was?
No.
What was it? Just curious how much it went up.
Do you know the answer to that?
It went up 5.
And this will cost, was it $2,000 for that, for the interest rate for that period of time? Can I read that in the packet?
So, yeah, so we're only going a 3-month period, so yes. We're hoping either the interest rate goes down or we get closure on the USDA loan that will pay this off.
Let's hope for closure.
So we
Yes.
might not have to have this for 3 months or whatever.
Well, that's right. We're hoping that it'll happen. I'd say it, right now, it's probably 50/50 on whether or not it can happen by the end of this. The closing of the loan can happen by the end of this term. We're just now getting the things that DEQ needed to begin their review. So they're going to have up to 90 days to review it. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but it's never easy to guess with them.
Do we have deposits with First United? Should we be getting interest in, also, I mean, our interest rate before we was getting was lower, now it's higher, so we're still getting.
We're getting just
Money.
under 4.5.
Yes.
I move to approve.
Second. Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 2, consideration and possible action to approve reallocating $21,350 in capital improvement project fund from pipe bursting, currently budgeted at $250,000, to the purchase of 2 pickups for the water line maintenance department, for a total new budget amount for the 2 trucks of $91,350. So this will, are we going to delay purchasing the pipe bursting until later, or is this take it off the table for the?
It'll just reduce the amount that we can do
Okay.
on the pipe bursting. So it has an effect, but not a major effect. As we all know, the cost of pickups and everything, frankly, has gone through the roof, and man, we're beginning to feel it. So we're moving money around in this case. It's very early in our budget year, but we need to get those pickups on the ground.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under approvals and acceptances, bids, purchasing, item 3, consideration and possible action to approve the state bid price of $91,350 for 2 Ford F-150 4x4 pickups for the water department from Bill Knight Ford, a budgeted capital improvement project for fiscal year 2023-2024. And that is a state bid price.
Right.
State price, right?
Approved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. That motion passes. With that, we'll move on to the regular meeting of the Seminole City Council. Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin, Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here?
Chris Anson,
Here.
Eddie Foreman,
Here.
Dana Miller,
Here.
John Kramer. Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Corey, would you read a prayer, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for Seminole. God, I ask that you would bless this council, that you would bless our decisions, our discussions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yeah.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Oh. With no items removed from the consent agenda, we'll move on to appearances or petitions from the audience. Would Zach McLemore please step up to the podium?
Good evening. It's nice to be back and when it kind of all started here. So, just a quick update on everything. I got word from my team this morning that we are getting close to having all of the duct placed in the city of Seminole. So that just leaves us to pull in the fiber, get the rest of things connected and everything like that. So I would ask that people be on the lookout sometime next week. We should start taking pre-registration with installations actually starting sometime in September, probably around mid-September. So that's exciting news. And of course, we're looking forward to that response. And of course, if there's any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to us. We'll have an online system for people to be able to register there. Of course, we also have people that actually answer the phones and can get you taken care of that way as well. Any questions or anything for us?
I can verify you have people that answer the phones because I received an email today and said, thanks for signing up and showing your interest. Now you can call and sign up. So I called and she goes, no, I'm not quite sure why you received that email this early. We're not quite ready for that.
So it might have been everything getting ready for this to kick off. May have been some premature automation as far as that goes. But definitely, I think that's one of the strengths that CVC Fiber brings to the table is that we do have people that are going to be there to answer the phone.
Where do you go online to pre-register? What's your?
So our website's cvcfiber.com. And so just give us, we'll post things on how to officially get signed up and walk through that entire process and things of that nature. So that's kind of the last of this process here. We'll get that all ready and make sure that that's communicated to the public so that people can go through and get that all done.
Any other questions or comments?
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, so under presentations, recognition by the Oklahoma Municipal League of the following public works employees for 25 years of service. Now, I know when you look at them, they're not going to look that old, but 25 years of service. And I want to say thank you because I know you guys play an integral part in things that go on for the function of the city every day. And, you know, we appreciate that. I'll just go ahead and announce your names, but then one at a time, if you come up, I'll give you your award and your pin. Anybody else, Brian, you want to come up as well, or?
I think once we get them all up there, we'll take a picture if you guys don't mind real quick.
Okay. All right. So Terry Cox, you get to be the first one. Then we'll have Richard Lay, Curtis Mooney, and Ronnie Yerby.
You gotta come to the circle, man.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't say that out the bat.
Oh, look at that.
Let's go.
Sir? Ronnie or? Well, fell out of order. Richard? There you go by Richie. And Curtis, thank you.
Unfortunately, OML would only recognize 25 years. Curtis is on his 33rd year now.
He's gonna have to start forever. Sir?
Thank you, guys.
We know who they call when they're looking for something. We'll move on to approvals and acceptances. Bid surplus, item 1. Consideration and possible action to approve to surplus the following vehicles located at the police department. A 2008 Crown Vic, VIN number 2335, and a 2009 Chevy Equinox, VIN number 2152. Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under bids purchasing, item 2, consideration and possible action to approve the sole bid of $60,230 for Matt's Construction to refit Fire Department number 2 on John Street for use as Water Department offices, a budgeted capital improvement project for fiscal year 2023-2024.
May I have a question?
Please.
So this is part of the capital improvement project. I don't remember, it's been a while since we had our budget work program, so I don't remember this discussion. Can you explain to me why we're moving the water department offices to this
Of course.
location?
Yes, in fact, Ken Childers did a pretty good job on the story in the newspaper this week. So what we are seeing statewide is insane bids for new sewer plants. Newcastle, for example, is slightly bigger than the plant that we're building, but they blew their budgeted item by about $15 million. So we have been working very hard to try to carve out anything that we can out of the bid for the new sewer plant construction. One of the things that we came up with was, rather than building a new building, a new facility for offices, et cetera, we thought, you know what, why don't we just move the sewer plant operations into the line maintenance operations building, which is adjacent to the current sewer plant. And rather than build a new building, which the size that we were looking at was probably, I'm going to say probably in the neighborhood of $500,000, we thought it'd be smart to utilize a building that we've already got on John Street. So we're moving the line maintenance crew from Lemon Lane out there by the sewer plant to John Street and doing the renovation necessary to be able to house them there at a pretty good savings.
So this is in lieu of just building the other building that we had on the CIP project prior to the sewer plant?
Yeah.
So instead of building that building, we're just gonna renovate that one?
Yes.
That's the only difference, okay.
Well, so what is the difference is, how much did you say that we approved in the budget?
Well, this was in the budget to do this,
This was at 60,000?
roughly, yes.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact figure, but yes, it was in the budget to do the relocation and construction, interior construction for the John Street building.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I probably gave you more than you wanted there, I'm sorry.
That's okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 3, consideration and possible action to approve the state bid price of $23,673.43 from Great Plains Kubota for a lawnmower for the Parks Department, a budgeted capital improvement project for fiscal year 2023-2024. Move its approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 4, consideration and possible action to approve the low bid of $10,000 each for 2 HVAC units for City Hall for Metro HVAC, a reimbursable Department of Commerce CDBG grant.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 5, consideration and possible action to approve the sole quote of $7,600 from Tri-County Heat and Air for a walk-in freezer at the Heritage House, a budgeted capital improvement project for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
5A, consideration and possible action to approve the low bid of $4,645.45 for a replacement storage building at the library in Ron's Portable Buildings, a budgeted capital improvement project for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Aren't we saving some money on that?
Significantly.
Yeah.
One bid was 12,000, one was
The
4.
quote came from Shawnee from a box store. The original estimate for 12,000, and we bought it local,
46.
or will be.
Very nice.
Great.
I believe the walk-in freezer was a little plus too. So, good deal.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Before we move into ordinances, I'd like to go to appointments, since it's kind of related to some ordinances. Mayoral appointment of an Animal Control Ordinance Committee. I thought we would, at first, vote on these all as one, but since we have 3 council members, I think we should do them separately and then everyone else as a group. If that's acceptable. So, my first recommendation is Trace Connor.
That's it.
I mean, I would need a motion and a second before he says something.
I'll motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All, roll call, please.
Save me for last.
You probably could do it all in favor. You probably don't have to.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Oh,
Hey.
You'd abstain since it's you, so. All right, Tim Poplin, and he's not here to say anything. so-
Very good. Very good. Make a motion for Tim Pollin.
second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Dana Miller?
I move.
All right. Got a motion?
Second.
And a second? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right. And then the rest of the members would be Dr. Kuhn, John Withers, Steve Saxon, and then someone from the Humane Society will join that committee as well. So they'll have a voice on that. So with that, I would entertain a motion for them to be accepted.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you very much. And thank you for your willingness to serve on this committee.
Yes.
We will move on to current ordinances. Item 6, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 1291, an ordinance creating an exemption to section R313 of the International Code Council Residential Building Code requiring sprinkler systems in all new home construction. So we want to take exemption of that, so that is not a requirement that we're going to force on our citizens to do.
I move to approve it.
What does our insurance guy say?
Look, I mean, it's more, I think it's more of an issue with contractors and the cost more than anything, but I don't know. What is it? No one wants to do it, so it is.
Well,
Too
it
expensive.
increases it, $2 a square foot, maybe more now. So it's a significant cost increase. So
Homeowners can still do it, yeah, but it's not forced upon them to do it.
There's no further discounts if you do or you don't. It's a little bit more on the commercial side than it is residential at this point. I can see this if it becomes a thing and every house has them. I'm sure they'll start a discount at some point, but right now it's still rated on fire class and how far you are from the fire department, so, and or a fire hydrant, rather, so. Won't make a difference on my side.
We got fire alarms, right?
It'd be nice.
So we had a motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer. Motion passes.
Item 7, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 1292, an ordinance updating the current code for trash receptacles at drive-through windows.
Well, I don't understand that.
Okay?
Sorry.
We'll ask, I guess it would be Sharon or Steve, or who would like to tackle that?
I can't get my phone to zoom in on that. Sharon, can you? I can tell you it's my pet peeve. It really is, for restaurants that don't have any access to trash at a drive-through area. It ends up on the ground, it gets in our bar ditches, and we end up picking sacks every day of trash, litter.
You said it all.
Okay, so where will these trash receptacles be located? At the window where I get my food and get to smell it, or are we gonna,
Past the window.
They're already required to do it now.
Yes.
are they?
McDonald's.
But this is changing some of the wording. to-
Yeah,
Yeah, they got one right there at the end.
So we can take McDonald's or Brahms or any of the drive-throughs as an example. If they don't take their trash out on a regular basis, it starts to smell. That's a given. They, instead of taking the trash out on a regular basis, some people will just move the can away from where a mobile customer can just throw their trash away. They'll move it closer to a door. We wanted to change that because that's when people's just, there used to be a can here, so I'm just gonna throw my trash right here. We'd like to make it to where the can does not move from that spot, and they have to, they would be required to make sure that it has a liner in it and doesn't get over full.
Specifically, you have to be able to reach the trash receptacle from your car, right?
Yes.
So we're just changing the wording basically to make it a little more.
We're making it a little more
Detailed?
stringent, yeah.
Having been in the restaurant business, this was one of my pet peeves to have one of these, because when people get up there in their car, it's not just that restaurant's trash, it's everything in your car goes in that thing, and you gotta empty that thing. No telling how many times a day, but that was always our problem with it. I didn't even know that this was a code, we always had one, but I didn't know it was a code in fact. But
Since 2010?
Sonic does it right, and frankly, when the restaurants get tired of emptying it, that's when they move it where nobody can
Yeah.
use it.
Well, part of Sonic's trash is in my yard. What they're doing right is probably true, but it's not stopping the problem because the wind is, I mean,
It's not gonna alleviate it all.
Well,
Unfortunately, you're dependent
bring
on
you
that
some
owner
sacks.
and that manager that's running it,
Well, you're hoping your citizens will put trash where it belongs, in the trash can as well.
oh,
instead
I
of
understand, but they don't.
but what's the process of communicating this to all the places in town to reassure them of what's changed? What's gonna happen?
We can send it, we
What's the
can
fine?
hand deliver copies to the restaurants in town and tell them, this is the old ordinance, this is the new ordinance. You still have to have your containers out there, you just can't put them over by your door when they get too full. You can't have trash all over your, flying out of the cans. We'll go by and explain it to them.
Okay. What's the fine? Just curious. Does it state in the ordinance?
Section 118
Just
fine,
a standard fine.
just a standard citation fine.
$50, $100?
Be up to $200 is what it costs if they,
$350, something like that.
it can go up.
If it spills over, they're subject to fine, is that what you're saying? Okay,
Oh,
well, that's gonna,
citizen problem reporter, over the trash.
And code enforcement, I guess, will be the monitor who does all the,
By the time you get there tomorrow
Inspections.
morning, it'll be gone, but it's okay.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
yes,
Trace Connor.
yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 8, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 1293, an ordinance updating the current fence ordinance. I see you stayed up there, so you can explain this one too.
Just in case. The current ordinance has a few missing pieces. One of those is for backyards. We had someone come to us at one time and wanted to put a barbed wire fence in their backyard. We had no right to stop them. So code enforcement and I kind of went through the entire ordinance, created some definitions for front yard and backyard fencing, and left the permit fees alone. They stayed exactly the same. But we did, most of the front yard fencing is exactly the same. The side and rear yard fencing is a little different because it says that barbed wire, razor wire, things of this nature are not allowed in residential.
how does that affect my permit that's already been approved?
Don't put a barbed wire fence up, Larry.
I'm not putting the razor wire up, just an electric fence, that's all.
Oh.
This is a new ordinance, so anything before now would,
So it's not retro. Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes,
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 8A, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 1294, an ordinance creating a capital reserve fund in the Code of Ordinances of the City of Seminole. And this is really, as some of us had talked about in the workshops, actually changes to where we can put some of the, move some additional funds in for some specific projects. Like Bourne Boulevard or other items that we feel needs to have some money already laid out, so if something happens, we wouldn't be left short. So, Steve, I'll leave it with you.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. Really, this is about doing allocations for things that we know that are going to come up in the future. Specific, the Bourne Boulevard project, the swimming pool, things like that, that we know we're eventually going to need. The reason that this is critical for us is in the grant applications. As you know, we're pretty good at chasing dollars. And what happens to us in many cases, as it did with our sewer plant when we applied for the USDA, we got zero grant from the USDA because we had cash deposits. Well, we all knew that, hey, we're going to spend that on these projects, but from someone sitting there looking at it on a sheet in Washington DC, it looks like unencumbered funds. So this helps us point them to the fact that, hey, these things are being saved for things that we're going to do in the future.
Motion to approve.
This, hold on just a second. This doesn't establish, we talked about like the Bourne Boulevard project, putting in a certain percentage every time we made a deposit into it. This is not declaring any of those. It's just we're just creating the big pot, is what we're doing. And when we start pushing the money in there under a certain project, is that when we delegate how much we're putting into it each year? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, and we've elected, I think in the ordinance, Brad, you can chime in, but I think in our ordinance, we've decided to go with hard dollars rather than a percentage. So, because we really don't know till right as the workshops are happening, what does this budget look like? How much money do we project we're gonna have? And
I'm
so.
good with that.
It also allows them to reprioritize their, something would happen.
Right.
You do an annual review of your projects to make sure because if you needed to reprioritize something, it allows you to do that. So if you were working instead of swimming pool and Warren needed to go in front of that or whatever, you could stack that up higher as long as you kept your projects intact.
And that would, if you move it, that would require a vote of the council. Is that,
Well, you're gonna allocate
or is it
it.
gonna be in the one?
Yeah, you would have to allocate it probably within the capital reserve. I would think so. I would recommend that you do that.
Right.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Current business, item 9, consideration and possible action to approve the closing of Main Street from Seminole Street to Oak Street from 12 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. for the car show on September 23rd, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 10, consideration and possible action to approve the closing of Main Street from Seminole Street to Broadway Street from 3:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the Seminole Trunk or Treat on October 31st, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 11, consideration and possible action to approve the closing of Main Street from Strother Street to Osage Street from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the Veterans Day Parade on November 11th, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Are there other activities other than the parade? It just seems like a long time if it's just a parade. I mean, I'm assuming there are other activities to go along with it, 11 to 5 p.m. for a parade.
Seven Arts Council did. So I'm sure they'll probably have something.
Okay. It's a big parade.
Well,
Or
reparade.
very slow.
They usually feed the
Yes.
veterans and stuff,
Okay.
I think, at the end of the parade somewhere.
We had a motion.
I thought we did, but.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Okay, roll
Okay.
call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 12, consideration and possible action to approve the closing of Main Street from Strother Street to Osage Street from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. for the Christmas Parade and Chocolate Festival on December 9th, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 13, consideration and possible action to approve adding the bus station property to the acquisition list for the Seminole Urban Renewal Authority.
Aren't they working on that to reopen it or something?
Yes, sir. So-
Will it be reopened if this is?
Yes.
As part of the,
So the Urban Renewal Authority, of course, their priority is blighted areas. And so they determined early on that that was part of the blighted area. And they, even before they knew there was something happening with the bus station, they were moving toward putting that on the acquisition list. It is not a requirement that they acquire it. It's just the fact that, hey, we recognize that that's a historic building. We want it renovated and not blighted. And so the fact that the owner has found someone that will do the renovation on the restaurant side is great. And I anticipate, although they didn't vote or really get too deep into it, I anticipate that that may be good enough for the Urban Renewal Authority to not take action to acquire. I will give a side note to that comment. That whole building, it needs to be saved. That's the opinion of the Urban Renewal Authority. The fact that the restaurant is receiving attention is great, but there's another half of that building that is not. And so that's of concern. And so they went ahead, even with knowledge that the restaurant area is being renovated, to ask the city council to add it to their acquisition list for potential for future action.
is it still, has it changed hands or is it still the same owner?
It's still the same owner.
Okay.
I got a question. I noticed on this map, the outline includes also the other building directly east. Is that part of it or no?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Trace.
I said in this picture here, it has it outlined that it not only includes the bus station, but another building right there to the east.
That house is to the east of it.
No, that does not include the Wade Signer property.
Okay, it's just the maps.
There is just a small piece on that property, not the house,
On
just a small piece of land that goes with that property.
okay, so it doesn't cover that.
So we're calling the bus station, technically I see it as two buildings, but technically it's just all one.
One was a mechanic shop or something. Didn't they have some starter repair in it a long time ago? Somebody did.
I don't recall ever seeing it occupied.
Out there in front on the west side. I can't remember
Motion to approve.
I have a question. Steve, can you explain to me, just education, what does the Urban Renewal Authority do when they acquire property like that? Do they just hold on to it? Do they try to sell it? What do they do with it?
I'm going to answer the question as if you're asking it about specifically our Urban Renewal Authority, not globally urban renewal authorities. Our Urban Renewal Authority only acquires property to this point when they have a plan on the renovation or a demolition and some sort of a repurposing of it. So, to my knowledge, they've never taken action to take a property like that without having some upgrade to it.
So do they have a plan, or maybe I missed that? Like, what is their plan to do with it? If they acquire it?
Okay, so the discussion this far has been to acquire property east of the Homestake building. And I I guess the best way to describe that is the south of Broadway between the bus station and the next alleyway. Okay, so right now, there have been buildings that have been torn down or damaged between the Homestake building and the bus station south of Broadway. The plan is to take the allocation that you gave them being the Urban Renewal Authority, and make something really glamorous happen there. You probably will recall something about the buildings that we went and toured in Blanchard. That's kind of what they want to see there. But they also included the bus station as a part of that renovation. So they want to see that whole south side of Broadway as it goes around that curve looking really special. It kind of augments what we've done, you guys did, with the upgrade to the sidewalks. That's already been done. And the streets are in really good shape to this point, knock on wood. Did that answer your question?
So there's really no specific plan, they just know they want to preserve it and make something nice out of it.
Are we talking about the bus station or the land? The bus station, yes. The only discussion I've been a part of is the preservation and upgrade to make it look great.
So is there an opportunity when they do invest those dollars into it, which are public dollars, right?
Yes.
When they do that, so let's say they end up getting it and they make it look really nice and really special, and then what happens after? Could they sell it and make a profit off of it and keep that profit for within the urban renewal, or does that come back to the city? What does that transaction look like?
Okay. They will have options. They can become landlords, which they've adamantly opposed to this point, or they can put it back in the hands of private individuals as investment property. That typically is going to be their out. That's what they want to turn it after it's renovated. So I don't see a case where they're going to hold on to it. If they sell it, yes, it would go back to the urban renewal pot of money, and hopefully they find something else that needs to be renovated. So if you choose, you'll have full knowledge of what it sold for, how much is in their account, so that your future allocations may be trimmed back and say, hey, we're not going to give you more money until you use that, or bring us a plan for why you need more.
So when they do decide to, so on this scenario, this is all just pretend, right? Because we don't know what will happen. But let's say they're in a position where they do want to sell it after investing all of these public funds into it. Who decides? Is it the authority that decides on who they sell it to? And also, I guess the second part of that is, do they have signed, conflict of interest where they're not, I just want to make sure that when they do sell, because if it is public dollars, that everyone has an opportunity to be a part of it, not just, a select few. And not that I'm accusing anybody of doing it, I'm just wanting to know the process and kind of the fairness and the conflict of interest piece.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's an urban renewal plan. The best example that we could probably use is the Bricktown area in Oklahoma City, the MAPS project. That was all done under the Oklahoma City Urban Renewal Authority. So using that as a template, Seminole did the same thing. We used the same lawyers that set that up, and we created, or they helped us create, a urban renewal plan. So it was adopted by the council. It took a lot of, you have to create a new authority. New authority was created. There is a specific law in the statutes that govern just urban renewal. So the waivers of the conflict of interest and all of that you're asking about, that is all state law. So it's all there. That can't be done. Anything that would involve somebody like that they're under a duty to disclose, just like you guys are when you would have to recuse or something from a vote. So that's all built into the law. But the overview, probably for you, to answer that question is, Seminole's got this plan, and it's a really good one. It was, again, developed by the people that did the MAPS project. And the one thing that they want to do is we have to designate areas within the city that are blighted. Once those are designated, then it triggers the ability of the Urban Renewal Authority to have some methods and mechanisms in place that the city doesn't in and of itself. So the Urban Renewal Authority can purchase property, they can condemn property, they can partner with private companies and individuals to acquire property, to repurpose it. The whole goal is to take something like just a blighted area, and we have pretty significant amount. We keep adding to it as things become, more evident, or if we want to extend the boundaries to encompass an area that's become, blighted, or it was blighted when we designated our initial map, but we've decided to expand it now so we can do more things with it. So this is one of those properties that was not included in that, and honestly, probably should have been. We just, from what I remember, we just didn't go that far east on Broadway. So, and then of course the tornado, things like that. So I know that we've extended it, I think a little bit around the high school and down Boren
Right.
there, is that right?
Yes. Let me try to get to the core, I think, of what you're asking. Will this be a bid? All right, let's say Urban Renewal renovates this. Are we going to advertise and take bids for it? The answer is probably not. They would likely get into a situation where they're executing an economic development agreement. And the reason that they would do that is because they would want a special designation for it. In other words, we may want a restaurant and the Chamber of Commerce in front. They don't want to just take the highest bid for it for someone to store mattresses in it. So they have the capability of crafting what do we want to go in there to foster the redevelopment of that area.
Is that done through city ordinance, Lynn?
No, it's done through the urban renewal plan.
Okay.
But there's also non-disclosure agreements. You can't get people to come in and want to take something and do something with it, somebody that we would welcome, anybody would welcome, if you, like a lot of this, they have in the Urban Renewal Authority an executive session, just like you do, the ability to do that under real estate, so that now, if they needed to acquire some property in the future, now you've got the neighbor right there that's not jacking their prices up
Right.
on the land. So typically, and Steve does a lot with this, so I'll leave that to him, but you don't have to take a bid on this, but it's still transparent. It has to all be transparent, and it has to be approved by a governing body. So the members of the Urban Renewal Authority are just like you in that capacity. They have their obligations, their fiduciary obligations to do just like you do, whatever's in the best interest of the city. But that's, I think those checks and balances are there.
Okay.
We have to follow that, and it's also built into our urban renewal plan.
The other thing is, you mentioned, those agreements could include, well, you have to have this completed by this date, or this is null and void as well, right? That if they were going to come in and do something, urban renewal could have that agreement with them. If you don't complete this project in a certain length of time, you don't get to keep the property and just sit on it.
They can use stipulations like that.
So, there's things they can do to include that, to ensure that something's going to happen, or it's going to go in smoothly.
It's a really interesting, when you look at the plan, you see how they're able to do what they're able to do, how Oklahoma City was able to do what they were at Tulsa. I don't think very many communities have an urban renewal authority. We kind of got on the front end of that, but it's really a good way for us to reclaim the city, our community to reclaim a lot of these properties that are just, maybe they're owned by somebody that's long deceased.
Yeah,
They're not being maintained, dilapidated buildings.
yeah.
And they just don't have enough money anyway, even from what you allocate to acquire all this. So the only way to do it is to kind of cherry pick the ones that you know that you can do something with, bring some private people in to help reclaim it, repurpose it, and then hopefully it'll catch on. And I think that's the concept.
Okay, thank you for that. My concern is, I think a lot of those areas, just in my mind, going through Ward 1, which I represent, could use a lot of that renewal money, right? But then my concern is always is that, and we hear about this, and I don't know how big this is, or even if it is an issue in our city, but when property comes up for sale, you have out of state, maybe people from out of the country buying it and then just sitting on it, and we never get to do anything with it ever again. And if that affects my ward, I wanted to know. So thank you for that information. That's all I have.
Thank you.
We have a
We had a
motion
motion
and
in
a
a
second.
second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 14, consideration and possible action to approve the subdivision of Town Center 3, which includes 50 homes and 6 office retail buildings, and a 6 office retail building.
Motion to approve? Is this just a continuation of what they've already started out with?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 15, consideration and possible action to approve the contract with Larson Design Group for the Family Entertainment Center.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mayor, before you leave that agenda item, if you've got any questions, our architect is here tonight, so
I think the only question is, when's he gonna have it done? You don't have to answer that.
I will say that we've gone at risk and actually have started to get the anticipated good races. I'm super excited about a very unique project that will be a great benefit for them.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Item 16, consideration and possible action to approve the contract for operations of animal control services and facilities with the Seminole Humane Society, Inc., effective from July 1st, 2023, at an amount to be determined based on revised contract terms and available approved budget funds.
What was the difference in the duty?
So, in the city council work sessions, as we began to craft the budget, we ended up with $50,000 in addition to what they had been allocated before. And that is in your budget. I think there are many questions revolving around what's happening with animal control. I think some positive steps are being taken, but I know that you guys are getting the same phone calls that I am about dogs at large, other vicious animals, things that we felt like were being handled in the first contract that maybe aren't getting the attention that we feel like is needed. We hope that the additional funds will be used to hire someone that can handle the situation. You guys have provided, and private donors have provided an excellent building. You've provided the pickup that goes around and does the animal control. I think the tools are there. I just don't think the implementation has quite been where we need it, and thus the reason for the committee. I'm going to be carrying those same concerns into that committee meeting. That I've had calls today and pictures sent to me about animal control, and they're becoming more and more frequent, and we just want to get a handle on it, get out in front. The contract that we've got tonight, Brad spent a lot of time on this. The amount, we left one blank in it.
Actually, two, the outstanding veterinary. There was a couple of changes that I've talked to Mary Ann and Marta about that we had made in here. These were just some oversights. The city actually provides a vehicle. We had it in there that they would pay the insurance. We actually do that, so I changed that. And then when we staffed it, one of the things that was discussed is we were wanting to, establish a maximum monthly amount for any outstanding veterinary expenses. They get paid. It just, sometimes I guess it gets, maybe 60, 90 days or something. But we wanted just to make sure that didn't get too, balloon too much, so that we can set just a maximum amount to make sure that our veterinarians get paid. And whatever you decide on that amount, we need to insert in paragraph L. And then, of course, the other thing that you need to discuss is how much do you want to compensate the animal shelter out of you've got a $50,000 budget that you've allocated. How much of that do you want to give? If that's already been decided, or I know we were talking like last time it was $1,250 or $1,500 a month to take up for the amount that was lost. But however you want to allocate that or allocate the whole thing, it's up to you. But whatever you decide to do, we need to put that under 6A. And that's
Yeah, and there's one other change. I think we had 40 animals.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that right?
Yeah, just 49.
Yeah, it should have been 49. That's our capacity. So, I'm going to be the bad guy here for just a second. At its core, the debate is going to be about a no-kill shelter. Are we capable of running real animal control with no big problems with dogs and animals at large without having euthanasia, right? So I think that committee is going to probably have a tough time and need to get into the weeds of, if you're at 49, if you're at 49 animals or 49 dogs in the shelter, does that mean you stop doing what's necessary? If you've got no other avenue to, in the past, they've done an excellent job of going out of state to get some of these animals transferred out. But that can't stop what is necessary for us to have vicious and other dogs. For crying out loud, if you can't jog in your own neighborhood, that's an issue. And we want Seminole to be better than that. So I think this contract is a good one, but we need to go further and make sure that our citizens are getting the kind of service that they deserve.
We know the issue is multi-phase, right? We have owners that are responsible.
That's right.
For their dogs.
Amen.
And, so you have too many running free, and the responsible owners, they don't care. You have responsible owners that take care of their dogs, and occasionally they get out, or other animals. Okay, that's gonna happen, and they're not vicious to anybody. I mean, the bottom line is, we want to protect our citizens.
Yep,
You know, I'm sorry, I mean, I'm an animal lover.
Me too.
But, you know, there has to be some number that we can only be housed. And, you know, I'm like you, I hate to see it, and I appreciate the work you've done on getting animals sent out. Unfortunately, I think they come in faster than you can get rid of them. And, you know, it's just, you know, I hate it, but if we don't have any other choice, I think we have to do that. The other side of that is, we've got to put, I'm going to use it even though we're talking about it, more teeth into the fines and how we deal with those irresponsible pet owners. And, you know, until they start hurting, they're not going to care.
Right.
And so we have to approach it from that end as well, or it's not fair to anybody to be battling this. So, you know, it's not going to be pretty in the end, but we have to do what we have to do to protect our citizens. And to me, that's our starting point. What happens after that then is determined based on the amount of animals and what we can get sent out to others that will take them. But, you know, no doubt in my mind, if a dog is vicious, nobody needs that dog.
Right.
And if it's going to attack somebody, nobody needs that dog. And, you know, I will say there are situations, if a dog is by an owner and somebody's threatening them, you know, that's a little different matter. And so there has to be some judgment, not just, hey, this is it, just like this, because we know there's exceptions. So I appreciate the work that this group's going to do. I know it's not going to be easy, but it's the right thing to do to help protect our citizens and then make the irresponsible pet owners be responsible ones, whether they want to or not. But anyway, thank you for that.
What happens to the fines that are issued and paid? Do they just go to the city? Do they revert back to the shelter? Where do those go? Or is that
General
something
fund.
the committee should decide?
General fund, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah.
Except for what goes to the state, the mandatory costs, right, to the state. There's costs that,
The court
yes.
piece.
on court costs.
Court fees
Yeah.
come back to that, yes. Yes, at the court.
I mean, that would certainly be something I think could be discussed, whether
Typically-
it's part of it or all of it or something. I mean,
Well,
you can
that's
talk-
just a part of it. On item G, you know, when they're talking about, in the contract, it talks about maintaining the interior of the animal shelter. If people can't go inside because it's intolerable to adopt pets, that's an issue. And that has been the case of recent.
So, just out of curiosity, which I know this committee may say something about it, but if you catch a dog stray and they come pick it up, they don't pay anything, they just pick up their dog, right? They just pick up their pet, or whoever, whatever it is?
Oh, like if they come reclaim?
Yeah.
No, there's a reclaim fee.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in the.
Just curious, I didn't know that.
I think it's $20 a day, $20 reclaim, $5 a day. And you don't pay any of that.
I wouldn't either.
No.
It's not your responsibility, you should. So,
And they're vicious or whatever, we don't allow reclaim,
yeah.
not now. Maybe we're gonna get in trouble for that, but this is the way it is.
Well, I don't want to have to pin dogs out, to fence them out. I think pet owners should have to fence them in. And there should be some specific guidelines, and I know that there is, about how that fencing works. But aside from all of that, we got a couple of things I'd like to know about. One is back to the veterinary services and fees. I mean, there's no cap on that as far as what vets can, I mean, $25,000 for surgery for a dog, you know, do we have limits on what we're willing to spend? And do we have an idea about, I mean, or do we have some specifics about which kinds of things we're willing to spend money on? My neighbor and friend.
We have it at $150
Well, hooray for that. As far as the city goes, $150, that's it.
We don't have a cap ourselves, but they maintain that within their own operations, so whatever they do.
So that's the only money.
Yeah. I don't think vets are out to take advantage of us. I think it's difficult for a person to say goodbye to their dog. And that's why I asked that question. Some people are willing to spend lots of money on it and expect, I don't want them to expect us to, or for the shelter to spend. Because you can pick up my dog, get it healed, and then I come pick it up for $35.
So, can I drill down on that for a second, Mayor? On item 3I, I'm sorry, L, yep, 3L, there is a provision, and it's not exactly what I'm going for, in terms of the balance of veterinary services. That would be a place, Larry, where you could insert your language that you're after, that the city will only do up to blank, right, Brad?
Per dog or total
Yeah,
amount?
per animal, you cannot exceed, or the city won't be responsible, or you agree not to spend more of the city's allocation than 200.
And that's yet to be conceived.
That's what you're here to discuss tonight.
Oh, okay. Well,
Part of that.
I just want to go with what we've been doing. $150 sounds reasonable to me.
Okay, so, can we write that
Yeah,
down?
go ahead, and you can talk.
And they are, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Do we use multiple vets or just one, or?
We use Seminole Vet and Dog Care.
Yeah.
We use Seminole because they're spay neuters, and he uses, he can't match the price, but he does most everything else. Seminole's great too, and we just have some good vets here, but spay neuter is just, Seminole Vet for $60. That's.
It's kind of like a contract price, I guess, or is that just an agreement?
It's an agreement.
Okay.
They jump up from 39, 37.50, like, when you got to 60, that was a price, that's still below the price. The doc comes up, that at the shelter, and does a discount. They know, if anything's gonna go up, they contact me, and we waste the money or we don't. We have a lot of good dollars.
Marta, what about State Street?
That is not.
That's cute, okay.
Sorry, yes, thank you.
So 200, we're going to put 200 in that per animal, maximum of, out of the city's allocation. If they choose to raise other funds, that's fine. We hope they do. The other blank on this would be on the next page under 6. So last year, you had $65,000 that went to the animal shelter, actually to the Humane Society. And this year, you guys graciously added $50,000 to that. So that number will now be $115,000. If you, right now, that's just basically going to cut them a monthly check that will equal $115,000 at the end of the year. I don't know if you wanted to get any more detailed into, hey, we want a minimum of 90% of this spent on salaries, or how, if you want to get more detailed. Right now, it is not. It is just basically, we're going to pay you $115,000 divided by 12 on a monthly basis.
I think there should be some allocation to some different things. I mean, because we know they're gonna need food, we know, there's just additional cost. But I think we should have a certain amount that will go to fund another person. Because one, we're asking for 24-hour, so that means you have to have enough staff to be able to do that
Great
during
point.
the week and on weekends. So I think some of that needs to be allocated for that. And I don't know what that dollar value would be, if we need to come back to that after some discussion and bring it back to the council. That may be what we need to do after we do a little evaluation of what we think that would cost. Because I don't know if it's one person, 1.5, I just don't know what that would be, so.
Mayor, are you saying one ACO or one staff member?
Well, so in the contract, it says they will have someone available 24 hours a day.
Mhm.
I don't know what that means, how
Who
many
is that?
people they
What is
need to
that?
be able to do that. So to me, that's boots on the ground.
Mhm.
And so they need to be able to staff to support that. And so I think some of that should go. I just don't know if that's 1.5, 2 people. I don't know
Mhm.
or what that cost would be. So I think maybe that should be brought back to the council for the allocation part, maybe come back, so we have some ideas on that maybe.
Mayor, I
That
have
will
a-
be your guys' motion, not mine.
Mayor, I have a question though. If we do wait on how they spend it, are we still, what are we paying them today as of, because it says July 1, we're August, whatever today is, 8th? So they haven't, so if I hear that, if I'm thinking correctly, they haven't received a payment in a month or 2 months?
We got our old one.
You haven't got the increased amount?
But we need an instrument to pay from going
Right.
We'll
forward.
backdate that to July 1.
Right. We will backdate it, but we do need something to pay from. Even if you say, all right, let's go 1/12 this month, but then this committee we want them to come back with an allocation plan. That would be fine too. But
I would like to divide it by 12 months and then also put, with the stipulation that we have the option to allocate it as we get more information.
I feel like we're getting into, we don't wanna run the business for them. So if you say, I'm gonna allocate 50% to you for this person, 10% for food, whatever it may be, who's gonna manage that on our side to see that anyway? My thing is, give them the money, and you guys come up with the stipulations that say, hey, this is what we're doing, these are our goals, this is what we have to do every month. And just do a monthly report or something to council and say, here's what's going on, here's what we've done, here's how many dogs we took in, whatever that is. I just think that'd be hard to manage on our side for that, to be honest with you.
The only thing I'm looking at, and again, I don't have a vote, Mr. Stein, so just my opinion, is, $150,000 a year. It doesn't matter if it's going to them or someone else. There should be some guidance on what the council is expecting to be done with that. Now, if you want to say, you need to spend enough of this money to staff whatever it might be, you guys would be the experts on that, not me. I think that's why we need some guidance from that, because, they may do a great job, but they may decide they've had enough in 6 months and leave, and then you have someone in there with no guidelines other than just that big picture, and they do what they want.
I think it's probably sufficient to say that the money go to the direct operation of the facility, but I don't know anything about running so we're gonna hire someone that does or something.
What if you allocate money to hire someone, but they have 3 volunteers who wanna work and go help them, and then they don't have to pay somebody? Well, that limits them to be able to use that money not towards other operations like food and vet bills that we have, so we limit. They know what they're sheltering. I don't have a clue.
They've done a great job running it, they just are overwhelmed by the circumstance.
Well, it'll
Yeah.
be your guys' motion, I'm just
Mr.
bringing
Mayor?
up things
Yeah,
to
well,
discuss.
I'm just looking at you because he has a mask on.
I got a question here. We just appointed an animal control ordinance committee. Should we let them make a decision on
Yeah,
that?
there you
Now
go.
that's
There
council.
you go.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think they could somewhat monitor how it's going, but I don't,
It could be an agenda item.
it can be an agenda item, give us a status update on what's going on with the shelter, how it's
We've
going.
got 3 council
And then
members.
you guys can look at that and say,
Yeah.
hey, we could look at that as a board, or whoever's on that committee, and say, hey, you're doing a great job.
All volunteers.
Maybe you guys should go meet there or something, maybe check out how it's going. But I don't wanna, that's just me personally, I don't wanna tell somebody else how to spend their money.
that would require a change, because this is really just the appointment of ordinance committees. If we were to
Right,
have
they're not
a
governing.
group over that, that'd have to be a different. group.
Right, they're not governing.
I don't think
Yeah.
they're governing, I'm just getting their report. And then we can decide.
Here's the
We
compensation.
have 3 members of the council on the committee, not with the.
It's strictly for the.
Ordinance. We're not talking about budget or anything else, just ordinances.
Suggestions?
Yeah,
I tend to lean toward what Corey's saying.
Yeah, me
I mean,
too.
just because they're gonna have a budget, they know what we require by the contract, it's up to them to make that work. I think, limiting it to, 12 monthly payments, that kind of gives us some,
Yeah, we can always hold a
some
check.
control over it. And, although, I mean, it'd be nice to get some sort of report, so we can kind of know where the money's going and kind of see what they're doing with it. But as long as they're meeting the requirements, then that's up to them how to
Yeah.
make it work.
I mean, I just don't want, you have people go and come, so if somebody quits and you're 2 weeks trying to find another person, I should get to spend that money, it's just like a business, I should get to spend that money on something else. If I didn't pay a week's worth of payroll and I had an extra $1,000, I should be able to allocate that to whatever I wanted to, that's what I would do in my business. So they should be able to do the same thing. But I think it should just be an even split 12.
So you'll need a motion for.
yeah, on that, what's the section?
G. Oh, is it G or L?
Okay, no, we're now looking at 6A.
Mm-hmm.
Contractors shall be compensated the annual rate of blank. So we're gonna get there,
In monthly installments.
and the monthly installments of 115 divided by 12 is,
$9,583.33.
That's what I was thinking.
okay. But I would like to have added on that it's reviewed periodically, or the contract will help me with some language there,
The
Brad.
contract's terminable by either party, no penalty, so we can do that. If you want to do a performance review or
Yeah.
just a review of operating, quarterly or.
Quarter, yeah.
Quarterly review, okay.
You
Yeah,
gotta do a monthly
the-
meeting? You gotta do a monthly meeting for the Humane Society, do y'all have?
Your board.
There's a monthly statement we give to the city.
So I think quarterly, they could do that at the same time. Report back quarterly.
And
So-
can that be in writing or in person?
I think I'm gonna put that under C, because they've given a monthly statement.
Okay.
Or we'll just put there the contract's moved on a quarterly
Okay.
basis.
Yeah, just to be clear, the only reason this is a discussion, and believe me, these ladies spend so many
Yeah.
volunteer hours, it's insane. But the reason that this is being discussed is because the job isn't being done to the level that city staff believes that it has to be done. So when I talk about stipulations, I'm trying to do something that is going to pin performance measures on that have to be accomplished, or the contract goes away. And what I mean by that is the city may eventually have to take it back over. And if that happens, we're going to hire a city staff person, probably 2, with that $115,000 and do the job. So, and that wasn't intended to be a threat, of course, but this is what we want. This is exactly
Yeah, I
what
like
we
it.
want. And the reason that you gave an extra $50,000 was to get the job done. So I just,
I think you're doing a great job, just got too many dogs.
you need to go by the
Too many
animal
cats.
shelter tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
then tell me it's a great job.
Yeah, well,
It's not good.
I'm talking about the performance of the
Oh, yeah,
staff,
yeah.
you know.
The volunteers
Yeah.
are fantastic.
That's what I'm talking about. They're doing great. It's just that they have not enough resources to
That's
save
right.
every dog in the
This-
world.
Hopefully this will
And,
solve that.
Here's the way I see this contract, if we're revising it, let's start fresh. We've got a committee now that you guys can, maybe within that committee, you guys come up with a list of things that we want to see quarterly, that they can report back to the city on. And so if we can do that, let's just clear the air and start over.
I'm for it.
Just go from here. And that quarterly, if things don't turn out well, we can revisit that at any time, that's fine, but I think it gives both sides, hey, we're giving you some help, you give us some help.
Yep.
So I think it's a give and take.
I like it.
I think we should just see it as a fresh start. and go on.
Would that be something written into the ordinance, Mayor, that we would require like monthly or quarterly reports?
Well, there's already.
There's monthly reports in here
Yeah.
already. We'll just
Okay.
review it on a quarterly basis with
Okay.
by the two parties, the contractor and the Humane Society of the city.
I thought I put that out.
So, for a motion, are you gonna need specific numbers?
Really, I'll just need a motion to approve the contract, subject to the modification on paragraph 3L that sets a $200 maximum amount of veterinary expenses and services per animal from city-provided funds. Any excess costs shall be assumed by the contractor for each animal. And then I've already got the $115,000 and $9,583 on paragraph 6A. And then the review, if you'll look in paragraph C, underneath that one, where it talks about their monthly report to the city, I've just added a sentence on there that the parties shall conduct a review of this agreement on a quarterly basis.
I have a question, I'm sorry. On the 3-day limit with anything over 49 animals, that essentially turns us into a kill shelter. Because-
So, let me throw that, I know where you're going with that. This is what, I talked to Mary Ann about this. What we want, what the 49 limit is the Departments of Agriculture, Forestry, whoever governs the shelter sets a 49 animal limit to keep everybody in compliance. So contractually, we want to put that in there in the contract. If it exceeds that, and you can change it if you want. I just put 3 business days or whatever to bring the number down. You can add some more days, whatever. But I also put in there, if you'll read that last sentence,
Can you direct me?
yeah, it's under
Or everyone else?
3J. Upon reaching the maximum amount allowed, contractor shall have 3 business days to reduce any excess animals through any means or method available. In no way shall this provision alleviate contractor's primary obligation to collect stray animals in a time-sensitive manner. So we don't want the fact that we're full keeping the animal control officer from gathering animals on the street. But any means or method available, that doesn't require them to be euthanized. So if that means moving them out of the city limits to a volunteer, somebody out in the country that wants to help out, that's great. But if you'll look in the next paragraph under paragraph K, nothing in this contract shall be construed to prohibit euthanizing dangerous and vicious animals according to prescribed ordinances or law. Additionally, nothing shall prohibit contractor, meaning the animal shelter, from humanely disposing of animals for the general safety and welfare of other housed animals on the premises. The reason that is in there is, and I'll just tell you, I don't mind telling you, Dr. Kuhn and I talked about it because I was trying to get his feel on it, and it's good that you got him on the committee. He was saying, he gets a lot of dogs that come in with heartworms that it's expensive to treat, $500 just to treat heartworms, and the animal's probably past recovering. And so you treat the animal, you don't want to kill the animal, of course, but then you send the animal back to the animal shelter or you adopt it out, it makes other animals sick. So then you've got a bigger problem. So in some of these animals, they'll go out and they'll hurt someone, bite someone, whatever, and you get them back. kind of makes them act crazy, he said sometimes, so, but he's seen that before, so he just, Dr. Kuhn does not, if you know him, he does not like to put animals down unless he just has to. But he'll also tell you that if you're going to protect other animals and protect it's almost like just the common good, you're going to have to do this on occasion, unless you're going to move people out. Move some animals out to somebody that's going to adopt them. So you're not required to euthanize, but it doesn't prohibit them from doing that if it needs, okay? But that's up to them. We're not going to mandate it. We're just not going to make it a no-kill shelter contractually, if that makes sense.
But I do feel Jade, though, does kind of tie their hands, and it's at 40 animals. It says 40 in J.
Yeah, we're gonna change that, right?
That's,
But the-
that's
40, should be
49, it's
49.
49.
Should-
That's a type, there was another contract that went out. I corrected that this afternoon, you probably don't have it in front of you, but it's 40.
Okay, so I might be looking at an old one. One, I don't know if heartworms are contagious. I've had dogs, and I've asked that and was told, unless my vet didn't know, but I don't believe they're contagious. I just really do feel, I think Larry brought up a good point, is the $200 that the city is responsible for. I'm sure we get vet bills that are way above that. So that big amount is based off of private donations. And I'll tell you, I'm on the fundraising committee, and even myself giving money, the no-kill piece is a huge draw for people to donate. So I think if Jay stays in there the way it's written, I don't think we could technically call ourselves a no-kill shelter anymore. And that could affect the ability to care for those animals over that $200 threshold. So I would like to see Jay removed completely until, again, we get these reports to see if that amount is being reduced, those animals in the shelter today. What steps is the board taking, or the Humane Society is taking, to do that? I think Jay does essentially make us that, and so I think if we take that out, wait to hear back from them on if there's any improvements, or what, if we establish those performance measures, if they're not meeting those, then we go back to Jay.
The issue is.
Is that just in there to give us an out?
Didn't you say
No, it's
the
there to give you a
department
kill shelter.
that oversees sets it at 49?
I'm sorry.
The,
DOAFF.
they set it at 49?
Correct.
So we can't take it out, we have to have it in as far as a number.
Is it in there today?
it's,
It's in this one, this last one we did.
No,
We had
you
it in
mean-
40, the initial, but
You mean currently?
Currently.
What they were working under?
it's 49,
In
right?
June.
It's 49.
Is the 3 days in the 49? Or is the 3 days in the current contract today?
Did we
I know it's
change
in the
that?
one that I'm
There
looking
isn't
at.
But we're not really operating under a current contract, I don't believe.
It wasn't. But if I can just say, the Department of Agriculture gives us 10 days to 2 weeks to move them out. It takes me that long to get them out on the transport. 3 days, I can't really get them out.
Yeah, 3 days isn't long enough to do
I want
anything.
49, I agree with that. We can't take care of over 49, we can right now, but,
So
we'll follow the new numbers.
if you're at 42, are you already working to try and get dogs sent out?
During COVID and everything's slow, we had a low of 30. Now it's just all, and this is not seeing what's all the state and all of it knows, it's just part of like our shelter.
Yeah, that cute puppy we bought 3 years ago is not so cute now that it's grown.
And now that you went back to work, doing all
Yeah.
this.
Dana, you're right.
Don't have time for
I
it.
said heartworms, I can't remember what, roundworms, whatever it was.
Something, yeah.
Kill
There's other things that are contagious.
So, was someone saying that we need to change that to 10? No, you said that now you have 10 days.
And then we have 55, just say, hey, try to move them out and go with 55, 10 days to 2 weeks. And we know that, and, we had, over 100, I mean,
But does that cause you a problem because you have, I mean, you don't have any wiggle room at that point? I mean, if
We
they're.
never have wiggle room.
Yeah.
That's why we're stressed.
So I mean, I don't know that you can say, you know, I mean, if you don't hold true to 49, then you could be at 70 before you get them shipped out. If you don't have some hard numbers.
Oh, yeah, we don't get that high. We'll either, board them and ask. people
Well,
to pay
but
we still have.
there's
them.
still a
It's
lot
not
of
been
dogs
sold.
out there that need to be picked up.
We keep picking them up.
So I mean.
4 or
you know,
5
You
in
could
my
easily
house.
get there
I mean, we've been
if
40
you staff.
And 2 days later, we've been.
Right, if you get another ACO,
Right,
you're
if you
bringing in more
staff it where you
dogs.
can work 24 hours a day, you're gonna be,
Well, we work 24/7, but it's just, fishes are injured after 4. I don't know if y'all are thinking it'd be like running at large 24 hours a day, because you're gonna need to stay with that.
that's, I mean, that, someone needs to be on call 24 hours a day, that's what the contract says.
For
But that means
business
if someone has a dog bite or something,
We do. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, we're there.
all right.
Fishes injured, anything that's.
What I don't wanna see though is you're always fighting that over 50 all the time. I mean, I've been in there and it's not a pretty sight when you're that full.
I don't think you're ever gonna, until you come up with some harsh ordinances. and
Right,
some
for the
definite-
owners.
The owners. Picking up my dog,
Ordinance.
look, I would charge people $50 or $100 to come pick that dog up. Because I'm guaranteeing you, the next time they come get their dog and they figure out it's gonna cost them a fourth of their paycheck versus $20, you probably got some people out there who are like, hey, let him get out. I'll pay the $20 to pick him back up. No
Don't
big
change
deal.
it, we'll
Maybe they'll
charge
keep
you.
him for a week.
Well, especially if you look at the price of a fence to fence them in.
I'm serious, I don't know.
I
I'd
think-
charge them $100.
I think that will be part of the
The
ordinance
ordinance,
committee
yeah.
to come back
Yeah.
with some of those suggestions.
Got it, we went up everything, it's just different.
If somebody complained to me that they paid $100 to pick up their dog, I'd tell them, sorry about your luck. Keep your dog in your fence or keep it in your house. $20 isn't much. I mean, I know that's an internal thing with you guys, but
Well, that's what you know.
the $20 is?
Yeah.
And that's what the group will look at,
Well,
the
the group will
committee.
look at that.
Yeah, it's in there, he's
Uh,
proposed
Is
something.
it open, it's not open discussion, correct?
Not supposed to be. We're supposed to ask
So-
that part.
So.
Well, you were asked questions though,
Mhm.
pertaining to that. All right.
So I know people who have dogs that get out in bad fence. And to upgrade their fence or replace their fence was like $1,100 or $1,200, which they don't have. So I don't know. Is there a volunteer group to go around and help people fix their fence? I mean, I'd be glad to pitch in on that, labor and otherwise.
Well, they shouldn't have a dog if they can't afford it.
Well, no, that's not fair.
It
So
is
for-
fair.
No, it is very
Oh, it's
It's
fair.
an
not-
option to own a pet.
No, it's not
Exactly.
fair to say to someone, just because you're poor, you can't have the
No, I didn't
amenities
say
that
poor,
I'm
I said
entitled to.
afford it, which
Afford
means
it, yeah.
if they can't budget to take care of that animal, they should have never got the animal in
Well,
the
then we
first
gotta have
place.
something to budget before you can say that to someone.
They should have thought about that before they got the dog.
Everyone loves a dog, every kid wants a dog for a pet.
Then you should have voted for $1 million
All right.
So I
budget for
should have
the
just-
Humane Society.
Let's go back and get back on task,
Sorry.
because we can ramble around on this all evening. So,
Either way you wanna do it, I'm glad to participate either way.
Something that I've never heard is what are the number of dogs that are picked up that belong to people versus the number of dogs that are actual strays? I
Don't
mean,
know.
I think I think that would be important to know. I mean, is what dogs are picked up that are returned to their owners or belong to someone versus the number of strays that are picked up that we have to get rid of?
I would say 20% are reclaimed, 80 strays.
So that's probably not our problem. It's not necessarily our citizens letting their dogs run free. It's strays somehow winding up in the city of Seminole.
Could be.
It's some of the same dogs over and over and over until we take them.
I mean, for whatever reason, yeah, whatever the reason is, it's
Like
not,
you
it's not,
said
it
it's-
doesn't sound like so much an owner issue as it does some other type of issue.
you said it was the same dogs over and over and over?
A lot of the same dogs that have come in, they're not vicious, they're ready to run, but it's just a lot of puppies and mama dogs that's spay neuter for them.
Yeah, yeah, we
But
need a good
those
spay
are
neuter
being
ordinance.
taken back by owners or by new people?
Well, if they don't come for them, and we adopt them out to somebody else, if they're not
But-
vicious or injured, but.
But if it's the same ones over and over, I don't quite understand how that
Well,
happens.
it's the same area, I should say, same area.
Okay,
over and over.
okay,
Same
all right, I get that.
Yeah.
Same area.
The same street, over and over and over. Yeah. And if, you know, it's 2 or 3 times, we'll say, hey, you can't, keep this dog out, but, you know, it could be one time, and they could be vicious or injured, and we don't want to let them have it back.
Right.
Yeah,
But
it's the
you-
same, it's the same area.
But somebody has some attachment to it that you're
No.
talking to, and that's where we need to get back to.
No, we probably have 6 families that when we pick up their dogs, they let them go. They will have more dogs within 3 days, and we're back in the same problem
And
again.
that's where we need teeth.
Which is why in the new ordinances that we're gonna be looking at, we're gonna be
Right.
addressing that.
Right,
Yeah.
that's why I said teeth.
And how do we stop, I mean, I don't know that this is even true, but how do we stop the instance where people from outside of town, because I've heard this said, dump their dogs in town because we do have a no-kill shelter, rather than take care of them themselves? I mean, do we know I mean, that's another issue. And I guess the point I'm getting at is, people need to take care of their dogs. All my dogs are spayed. But I do not like passing laws and ordinances that punish people who do the right thing. And I want to make sure that doesn't happen. Because I know there are people who may have animals that they do want to breed down the line. And we've talked about making it a straight, spay or neuter no matter what if they're in the city. And there are some people who may have a dog in the city that they own that they want to breed down the line. And I don't want to tell people they can't do that either. So, I mean, if we're going to craft something like that as far as spay or neuter, there needs to be something for them to register the dog specifically that they have this dog they intend to breed later. Something, there's got to be some type of exception for that, because if they're taking care of the dog, they don't let the dog get out, they shouldn't be punished because somebody else doesn't do it.
And I think John.
Agreed.
calls it exceptions.
Exactly.
Exceptions. There's always carve-outs here,
Okay.
carve-outs there, we get that. The backyard breeders, and they don't take care of the
Yeah.
animals, that's who we're at.
No, and I get that.
And, the reality.
So just to give you a glimpse, we've got several sets of ordinances for you to look at, this new committee that has a lot of those built-in exceptions, and we're going to be providing those to the committee that'll address a lot of these things that, in the contract. So when we get that done, I think you're going to be pleasantly pleased with the revisions.
Well, I think that'll help.
They pick them up, but just, I said, you worry about picking them up, we do the other side of the desk, it's just you gotta pick them up. You can't say, well, we've got to, you just gotta pick them up, and you have to get out, and do what you can.
Brett, I'd also like to say too, the ordinance is coming up, it's gonna be positive. But also, the Humane Society has almost a whole brand-new board. They got rid of the old board, got some new members in there who are young and energetic, and they've got great ideas, and I think a lot more engaged than the other board. So, and we have a group chat that goes off 80 times a day because somebody has an idea or somebody has a question, or so. I'm encouraged by the new board as well. But, however, I do want to go back and Jay, the 3 days. I feel like we need to have that discussion.
What do you want to see?
Well, I heard Marta say 10 days to 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 weeks is too long. I don't know that I have a problem with 10 days. And that's what 2 days, I think some people sometimes 2 weekends, for 10 days. So, you know, that's my opinion. I wouldn't go longer than 10. I would compromise to 10. I don't know about 20. But I think you will end that problem if you're overflowing. But what's everybody else's opinion? Keep it at 3 days or with the community?
Depends on whether the dog comes from a wealthy home or not.
Yes.
Are you gonna put a scale of what you charge?
Well, no, the wealthy ones are free. The wealthy ones are free, the cheap ones gotta pay.
It was mentioned earlier that when we hit 49, that it even becomes a problem just getting people in there to adopt the dogs. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration, whether we allow it to go on for 2 weeks or not, because if you can't get the dogs turned around because there are that many in there, you know, that makes that doesn't help the issue either. So, I mean.
2 weeks is too long, but I also think 3 days, you gotta think
It's
about
too
it.
short.
If your 3 days happen and you pick up the dog on Friday, you gotta have it gone by Sunday.
Well, you can't do it.
So, I just wanted to let you know that I did put the word business days in there, so, to give you a little bit of, a little bit more.
Again, if that change, if that's, the motion's gonna be made overall and is changed, it can always be changed if something's not working again. So I don't know, at least in my opinion, that 3 days is move it to 10. I mean, let's make that motion and move it to 10. And again, it can always be adjusted if you find that's just causing problems in some way, or is inhibiting maybe the goals being met. You know, there's things that can be
Hopefully,
done.
the committee will come up with some good ideas that
Right.
we'll never have to deal with the 10 days.
That hopefully will be part of that review.
Who would know? We can review it at that point.
So if you say 5 or 10 business days, that's 2 weeks.
Mhm. Yeah.
We'll also, we've talked about, you know, after these ordinances are done, we can always revisit this contract and fine tune it. Nothing says that this is gonna go for a full year without any modifications if you don't want to do it. We can always come in and adjust things.
But our task tonight is to pass the contract. Is that right?
And get
With those
those.
modifications.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, that's what we're here for, to finish up with the contract. So may I make a motion that we accept the contract with, in J under whatever it is, we put 10 days instead of 3 business days. And,
10 business days, right?
10 business-
yeah,
10
yeah,
business
instead of
days.
3, 10 business days. And under L, $200 is the maximum on veterinary services. And we pay under 6, is that A, 6A? The 115,000 in 12 equal payments of $9,583.39.
33?
23?
33.
Make it a quarter. Let's make it 25 cents. All right, 33, whatever the figure turns out to be. And we have a quarterly report from the, I've been paying attention, although I like to argue, that's true.
All right, so we have that motion. Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes,
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Well, as you can tell, that's a passionate discussion, and it should be, because
Yes,
it's
it
very
is.
important, you know, and it
It
affects a lot
is.
of people, so.
and everybody loves their pets.
Thank you for that.
I say we tackle crime next.
It would probably go faster if we were most about the people than the dogs. All right, with that, we'll move on to remarks and inquiries of mayor and council members. Well, I have one thing. I want to pass on my condolences to Lance Corporal Merrick Stockery's family. I want to, thank them for their son's service for our country. Again, we know there's no higher price to be paid, and, words just can't make up for it. But, it's always hate to see a young man with so much life ahead of time, or ahead of him, and just something like that happens. I mean, that's just difficult. But again, I wanted to pass on my condolences to his family. With that, we'll move on to Ward 1, Larry Church.
I'd just like to thank everybody for tolerating me.
I don't know that we tolerate you.
Well, I'm still here. I'm still here if someone wants to put me out. But I appreciate that very much. I mean, since I've been here, everyone has worked together really well to try to get things done for the city of Seminole, and I appreciate it completely. And with that, that's it.
Thank you. Ward 1, Dana Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Want to welcome everyone to Ward 1. I do want to echo your comments, Mayor, about our fallen soldier from our town. I had the privilege of standing by when him and his family came through, and thank you for Chief Withers for your officers, kind of making that possible. And it was quite a sight to see. And while my heart was equally sad, it was also very proud of our town, how we came out and supported this family and our soldiers. So that was something to see, and it made me feel good to be from Seminole to see that. Another thing I also I didn't have any constituent issues. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if my email was not working, but I haven't heard anything from anyone. So I just want to, put a reminder out there to our constituents. If you're listening, please feel free to contact us anytime. We work for you, so we need to hear from you. We don't know if it's broken. We can't fix it if we don't know it's broken. So please just let us know. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I did miss on mine. I didn't feel like it was worth talking about it with my condolences. But trash, we had an issue where they missed 2 neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But we know they're working on it. We know they have staffing problems like everybody else. But again, make sure that we know about it so that we can pass it on to them, and we just have to keep that communication line open and let them know that what's happening, because if they don't know, then they can't work toward fixing it. So, with that, Ward 2, John Kramer. Eddie Foreman.
I'd like to thank again the city employees of Region 25 years. Loyalty is an awfully big thing for a city to be a prominent factor, and I think that our city shows that by the loyalty of the employees. And I'd also like to say, just as a notice, that we put up more money for abatement this year than we've ever put up in the past. And just as a forward, I believe our account was $200,000. And if you read the paper today, Oklahoma City's general budget for abatement is between $175,000 and $200,000. So we put as much money into that problem as the city of Oklahoma City does. And that's something to be proud of. So, man.
Thank you. Ward 3, Corey Crabtree.
All right, first off, many of you are aware of the fire that happened just a couple blocks down. That was actually my wife's aunt and uncle, which we know pretty well, we're pretty close to. Of course, they died in the house fire, but my wife said to for sure tell everybody to thank you for your professionalism. Scott, you were there, I don't know what time you left in the morning, it was 2 or 3 in the morning, I guess, or something like that, but everyone from Scott to Chris Ayers was down there. The ME that came on the site, they were all fantastic and treated us with the utmost respect. So we appreciate that. I couldn't get my father-in-law to leave, that was his brother, and he would not leave until they had secured their bodies and taken them off. So we were there a lot of that night, but thank you. I don't know who's taking care of the streets, but every time I call, somebody really jumps on and gets it taken care of. One of the daggone potholes that drives me crazy is the one on my way to Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever filled the one in front of Pam Robinson's office?
Yes.
I appreciate that. When I hit that thing at first thing.
Yep.
So, and then
It's on my way home.
I did have
I hit it
one, gentleman that called me from the neighborhood, and he was very, very highly impressed with the guys that came out to fix his water. There was a water leak on his property, and he was really impressed with their professionalism. He said they actually took the time to tell him exactly what was wrong, what they were doing, and they cleaned up their mess and did a really, really good job. So pass that on to your people as well. The only other thing is about the trash, that I had to call on that too, because it was our neighborhood. And I said, just wait till tomorrow and leave your dumpsters out. But apparently somebody came back before the day was over and got them. So if anybody's calling about the trash not getting picked up, tell them to leave it at the curb. They're gonna get it. I mean, that's the one thing about it. We're not just gonna let it sit. It may sit till the next day, but I don't think that's as bad as not getting it picked up at all. So I don't think we'll ever miss a week. But anyway, that's all I have.
So that's in addition to the 2 new grids I was talking about. It
Mhm.
wasn't in your area at all.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know.
My
They were
neighborhood's
just
one of
behind,
them.
so.
My trash is piled up right now.
Oh, well.
Somebody didn't have the right map in the GPS. Ward 4, Chris Hansen.
I just took Corey for throwing his trash out of the sun in Larry's yard.
That blows into my yard.
So he hits the pothole with his trash.
It must be.
I just drink there, so it's not a cup, it wasn't me.
Well, I get cups. Just drive by, All sets of trash at the
Ward
curb.
4, Trace Connor.
You may not believe it with all the temperatures we've having, 100 plus, but summer is ending because school has started. Meet the Teacher was tonight. First day of school is Thursday, the 10th. Wilson and Northwood all have new awnings completed for the pickup for students stay dry and during bad weather. Another thing I have is on the golf course. We're in the 8th week of our conversion to our greens, and they look fabulous. We've been diligently trying to get some of the foreign grasses that are supposed to be in there out, called goose grass and some other stuff. Anyway, our first tournament will be held September 1st, so we're looking forward to that. That's all I got.
Thank you. Move on to reports from City Manager Steve Saxon.
Yeah, bravo to my 25-year employees. They make it happen every day. They kind of give us stability and the guidance that we need as a staff. We are going to need a special city council meeting. We've got several things that we couldn't get in for this one yet. Specifically, we've got a grant that's due September 1st, and we got to adopt some policies if we're going to do that, or we're going to propose policies to you all so that we can be eligible for that grant. School zones, please, it's time to start paying attention again. The school zones are coming in. Be sure and thank Rick for all the hard work that he's put in out there. I don't know how many man-hours you two have put in on that golf course, but it's phenomenal. Thank you for the volunteering. Town Center is going extremely well. For those of you that don't know, Town Center is all the new development that's going out by the new high school. It's going fantastic. I can't believe the progress that they've made on the new hotel. The elevator shafts are in, and they've begun work on the second floor, second of 3. So we're going to be in good shape here by next summer, I think. Euler Park, we have a meeting with the college on August the 16th, and I'll just keep you posted on that. There's no preconceived ideas of what we're going to do with either the building or the actual baseball stadium, but we'll find out more on August 16th. Sean, thank you for the work that you guys have put in on the chamber renovation. I like to see the 1970s drawdown screen gone, so we're up to date now. Thank you. Good job. We're out to bid on 3 more roofs from the tornado damage, thank goodness. I think we're in good shape on our insurance settlements, the library, the wellness center, and City Hall. And a special thank you this time to Brad Carter. We have loaded him up with ordinances and contracts, and I mean, he's really outperformed himself this go. So thank you, Brad. That's all I've got, Mayor.
Thank
I
you.
have a question for Steve. Steve, are there any updates on the townhouses that are being built behind the wellness center? It seems like they've been under construction for quite a while, which is, I'm just wondering about, because didn't we give them some resources to put housing up and it's still not there?
Yes, they are making, I would consider it, I don't have James Moon here to back me up, our code enforcement guy, but I think they're making good progress. I think part of it is inexperience with doing that type of work, meaning that I think they could probably have some of them rented and in place now, but they waited too late, for example, on the water. There are several things that you have to do through the Department of Environmental Quality to get your water installed, the main that has to be installed, and so they're on delay at DEQ. They can't install that line until those things are passed. So, but I do think they are making very good progress on the interiors now, and I expect it to be fairly soon when the DEQ will release them. They did get released to construct the sewer line. We're just waiting on the water to be opened up. Ironically, they installed the swimming pool, but they have no water to put in the swimming pool.
Nice. Thank you.
Dry swim.
Thank you. Our city attorney, Brad Carter. Nothing. We're all talked out tonight. All right. With that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, like. Motion passes.